All right, so in this one today, we're using transition matrices still, and it's where we're using the recurrence formula as well, but now we have this extra matrix. So you'll get this extra matrix in the formula. So it's either getting added, it could be added, or it could be, you might be subtracting another matrix, but you're going to get an extra one or an extra things to do in the formula. So in this case, so when we go to find the next term, we're doing something, you know, we use the transition and the state before, but we also then add some or do something extra to it. So when you have, it's really important, and it's down the bottom of your page here, it's really important when you have these extra ones. So when we have that, we're doing something extra in our step for solving, you cannot use the power trick. So that means you have to go step by step when you're trying to find each one. So you may be given, if you're given S1 and you need to go to S3, you just have to do it twice. There's no like quick way. We need to do it like that. So like what I said in finance, you won't get asked to go too far ahead because, you know, that will take too long. So they'll only ask a couple in front. So just be wary of that. So let's have a look at it. So we've still got this car rental, and it says 90 cars in total, and there's 50 at Bendigo and 40 at Colac, and they're rented, and it says cars are usually returned in the same town. However, a small percentage of the cars in Bendigo are returned to Colac and vice versa, and here's the transition. Now, to increase the number of cars, 2 extra cars are added onto the rental fleet at each location. So can you see here down there that B value? So you can see in the recurrence formula, they're adding that extra B matrix, and they've shown you over there. And because they said 2 at each rental, so we might say this is Bendigo and this is Colac, because they told me up the top that Bendigo had 50. So there's the extra that they're adding into. So they're going to say that goes. So when you think about it, how many in total are we adding each, say this is at each week? How much are we adding extra each week? 4. We're adding 4. So when we get, so at the moment, SO will be 90 when you total it up. What do you think S1 will be when you total it up? 94. It'll be 94. Good. So it will increase that number. So you've got to think about that as well. So when they say here, so we're going to determine how many cars are in the week 1. So say we're saying state 1. So you just follow the formula. So into the calculator, you're going to put the transition, and you've got to use the one before, which would be SO in this case. And then you're going to add that B matrix, which they gave it to you. Sometimes they might just say it in words, so you might have to create that matrix like that. Okay, so if you have a look, I've done that here. So you can see here's the transition, SO timesing, and then I'm adding B. So when I do that, I end up with 46, 48. So really what I've found there is that's S1. So if you add those two numbers together, we see, do we get 94? We do, don't we? If you add 46 and 48, do you get 94? Mm-hmm. Yeah, you do. So that made sense because that's what we thought. So now, that was 1 week. Now they want me to find out how many there are in week 2. So if I want to do week 2, I have to do the transition times the one before. So that's S1. So what's happening is you're going to take your answer from S1 and it'll go into your formula. And then you're still adding the B. So we're going to add another 4. So when I total it up, how many should I have?
98.
Yeah, there should be 98. Just little things to think about so you can help spot if you're doing it. So I've done that over here, the transition times S1 plus B. And I got 43.6, so I'm going to round that to 44, and 54.4, so I'll round that to 54, and I know it should be 98, And that's what those two numbers are. So that's good. All right. So I would have to keep doing step by step. Now, just to remind you, if you were going backwards, sometimes they make us go backwards, even with one of these. Remember back when we did equations, and remember I said you'd have to move the plusing one first, then you do the timesing? That's that scenario. You could get that here, and we've sort of practiced that there. So you could get that scenario up. All right, so this is question 4. Beginning in the year 2021, a new company will take over the maintenance of the same 2,700 kilometres of highway in a new contract. So this is up to question 4 in an exam, and you don't need the previous information, but it was all about a highway and they were repairing a highway, okay? But what's important here, they are telling you they will take over the maintenance of the same 2,700 highway. So that's what they're looking at. So, you know, when you add up, and they've got all these different parts of the highway, so, and all down here. So G stands for like, it needs to be graded, and the other one there was all these little things that they could do to the highway, and that was there. So it says let MN be the state matrix that shows the highway maintenance schedule. So these are like, those letters above are all the things they can do to the highway, okay? So you're not going to lose any highway, are you? So when you think about it, when you add up all your parts of the highway or whatever they did to it, it should end up to 2,700. So it said that. Now it says maintenance schedule for 2020 is shown below in MO. So what they just said here, MO, is there. So that's 2020. So sometimes you might want to write under the question, that's the year 2020. So you know, because they're not using S, they're using M. That's okay, we can keep going. Okay. For these 2,700 kilometres of highway, the matrix recurrence relation shown below can be used to determine the number of kilometres of the highway that will require each type of maintenance from year to year. So this is a year to year, there's the transition, you can have whatever the GR, S and N type of maintenance. Okay, now, so if you look in the formula here, they've got this extra B, and you can see they've given it to you there. But if you're going to add a matrix on, it will change the value, wouldn't it? It would change how much. If we're going to add extra in, it would change the amount of road we're looking at. So what happens, if you have a look here, and we know that doesn't happen. They're only ever looking at that 2,700. So you can see when they add this B matrix in the formula, essentially we want it to be adding 0. So can you see here, you've got 20, you're adding 20 on that bit, you're adding 10 on that bit, but then you take away 60. So what would you be up to there if you're doing a total? If you added them up, you'd be up to minus what? 30. Now, if I don't want any extra road, because there is no extra road, what would I want K to be? 30. Good. So that's how we worked out that was 30, because this needed to be 0. So I'll write that out so that you know why we did that. So we'll write that little point. So because we are not going to gain any more highway, because they're only doing maintenance on that particular bit, even though they want to add this matrix, all it's doing is juggling things around where the numbers are. They're moving it, like they're taking it away but giving it to the other bits. So that needs to be 0. So we've answered that first question. Write down the value of K. So we knew K was 30. Now, how many kilometres of highway expected to be graded? So that really means they just want G in the year 2022. So we've got 2020, that's M1. So really 2022 would be M2. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, because you've got one of these recurrence relations with an extra bit, you have to do it in stages. So I'm first going to find M1 by going the transition, using their formula, and they said to use the one before, which they gave me, MO, and then we're going to do plus B. So here would be in a case 2 where you need to show what your K is and you need to show you're working out. So in case you stuff that up, the examiner will give you consequential marks. They're just going to pop your answer in there. Okay, so if we do that, and I showed you over there on the calculator, we get this answer of 470, 410, 360, and 1460. Okay, so that is essentially M1. And now we're going to do the same thing again, but we're going to use M1. So transition times M1. So we are moving this answer goes into our formula. So you can just go up on your calculator, copy it, paste, drop it in, and then just make sure that you change that one in there, yeah, when you're doing it. So then we've got plus B, and you can see I've done that on the calculator. So then I write out my answer, or I write out what that matrix is. And if you go down, write the letters G, R, S, and N, they only wanted what was to be graded, which is the top one. So we'll say therefore 457 kilometers to be graded. That's what G was meant. Okay.